Okay, Jeanne, which glasses?
What do you mean?
These glasses?
I can't even see.
Okay. I'll thing.
I think we are live.
Hi, Jeanne.
Hey.
Welcome to Piping Hot. This is the place where we take a bite-sized approach to all the hottest industry tea every week. I'm Kristin, the CEO of Take Flight Marketing, performance marketing agency for D2C brands.
Hey, everybody. I'm Jeanne Meyer. Today, we're going to talk about the kind of opposing forces of brand versus performance. There's a age-old conversation about, one side or the other, but, actually, in reality, they could be each other's biggest growth lever, right? And what do you have to say about that?
I absolutely agree. I think there's so much power in being able to blend the two. So I'm curious, why do you think so many performance marketers still treat brand and performance as opposing forces when really they could be each other's biggest lever?
I think it comes down to two things: founder mode. We all know what that is. And like boards of directors have grown accustomed to seeing attribution to every penny of marketing spend. And it's like a drug, but it doesn't have long-term impact. It has performance marketing alone can drive short-term results, undeniably, but not long-term value. All kinds of research says that. Performance doesn't build trust or credibility, but man cannot live by performance or brand alone. You need a combination of both, right? So in that vein, what does story actually mean in the context of scale? Like, how do you keep it intact when you're like really trying to nail conversion?
I think story is really critical to scale. So the way I see it, we can only achieve scale if the story resonates from the top of the funnel to the bottom of the funnel, really hitting everyone from an awareness, consideration, conversion, and conversation perspective. Without that, how can there be scale?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in my point of view, coming from the strategic communication side, stories can't really scale unless they're built to scale. A good story's got to be built to travel in this day and age. It has to be irresistible to amplify by third parties, whether that's media organizations or influencers or other friends and family that make it go viral on social. And so building a story to travel imbues when you get someone else to tell your story, a third party, that imbues you with authenticity and authority that stories that are just paid promotion or pure ads can't do. You know what I mean? So here's the other thing on my mind. How can brands measure storytelling or evaluate storytelling when you're looking at it from a scale perspective?
I think there are a lot of great tools out there, but some of my favorites include attribution tools like Triple Whale and Northbeam. They can really help us unlock the entire customer journey from beginning to end, understanding every touch point from the first time someone touched a story to the last time someone was touched by a story and actually purchased. We can also look at different metrics like ad recall lift, conversion lift or incrementality, branded search growth, looking at paid versus organic, as well as creative fatigue. All of those are great ways to measure the scale of a story.
Yeah, and I always like to say, earned media, pursuing that kind of, media coverage, third party, sort of thought leadership kind of content. It's very difficult sometimes to measure, but I love collecting anecdotal evidence. That can be some of the most powerful measurement you can get. So some of that that activity to drive story and get earned media or building your own audience and your own platform, that kind of stuff can directly influence anything from recruiting, hearing candidates for a job you're trying to fill talk about how they read about you, and it's important in a talent brand. Being on a podcast, one of my clients recently was on a podcast. It led to her booking a $250,000 worth of business. So there are those kinds of stories that I think are as important in terms of attribution and measurement, for sure.
I would agree. And if you had just one lever, Jeanne, to immediately improve the synergy between brand and performance, what would it be?
I mean, you can't. I was just hearing from a group of Gen Z professionals talking about what's cringe, right? And so I would avoid cringe. I'd really, really, really work hard to make sure that what you're doing, it presents in a super authentic way, that it's really, really organic. Doesn't have to be too polished or slick. You also need to make sure, if you want a third party to run your story, if you want trying to get media coverage or a Substacker to include mention of you, you've got to work with what you know they need. They want to they want to break news. They want to give stuff that's valuable to their networks. And if you're not answering the question, why should I care? Then it's probably not going to travel. And then, earned media in top tier publications is, we know in the age of AI, is increasingly exponentially more valuable when it comes to large learning manuals and brands showing up in search.
So that's a great segue into my next question, Jeanne. What about AI's impact on the interrelationship of brand and performance?
Well, as I said, it's elevating the role, the weight, and the importance of earned media, and authentic consumer reviews, Reddit conversations, that kind of authoritative quality content is totally changing what we used to call SEO. Now it's answer engines, not search engines. It means that classic media relations, press releases, Wikipedia, stories, and trade publications, which may have not be seen as relevant or valued, they are more relevant than ever because large language models prefer them, and when they're ingesting training data. So the other thing I think is kind of cool is I just heard about a tool that's measuring AI's impact on brands, called Revere AI. It blew me away. I think we're going to see more of those kinds of platforms as we get more into the age of AI. What about you?
That's a great recommendation. I'm excited to check them out. There are a lot of exciting advancements coming out for performance marketing, and the way we do performance marketing is about to change drastically. For example, a lot of platforms like Meta and Google are considering taking away a lot of our ways to manage campaigns manually. So we will now be using AI to help us set up the campaign, to help reach each person at the right stage of the funnel, to understand who we should be talking to. And there are also ways that we can work with AI to generate creative. So lots of new tests to try and data to untap.
Cool. You know what, Kristin, this has been so much fun. We have to do this more often. I know you're out in Portland, right?
Yes.
And today I'm talking to you from Vermont. It's crazy what technology can do. But I loved this time together. Anything else before we wrap?
I can't think of anything else.
Cool. And I don't know if we have any questions from the crowd, but you can hit us up on LinkedIn. We love being part of the board. It is such a great organization of fractional experts in every discipline, whether you're looking for a fractional CFO, media buyer, strategic communications person. We've got legal beagles in there, and it's the full spectrum. So, yeah.
Awesome.